Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Tuesday the 25th of June and we will take Nvidia again today since, well, it's talk of the town and it got smashed yesterday. It lost quite a bit here the past few days after forming this bearish engulfing pattern Thursday last week. Very close to test the 38.2 retracement and support at 115.82.87. Close below, well, then we are looking at 106.47, and there is a special video out on semiconductors published yesterday. Please check it out. There's also ASML, Supermicro, Computer, ARM Holdings, Intel, TSM, and a few others. Check it out, and it's more in the more deeper dive into these companies, semiconductors that are a bit under pressure at the moment with top and reversal patterns. On the overall index, we have S&P 500 a little bit lower yesterday, but not that big. And again, we are in a positive sentiment. There's no divergence on the RSI, indicating this is merely just a correction. But again, things can change easily. There is support at around 5,340 on S&P 500, and we are still a bit away from that. Nasdaq got hit a little bit harder, obviously. 19,296 is the 38.2 retracement that is likely to be tested. It is also a little bit of a gap area, as you can see here, just around that level, 19,347. And these gaps are, of course, always interesting. This gap area could be tested here the next couple of days. Pre-market, we are a little bit lower, but not much. So let's see what happens. And also here, RSI still in a positive sentiment with no divergence, indicating this is merely just a correction. But again, there are no guarantees. Let's see. EUROSTOXX 50, 49.49 here. We were just on, I think we closed just a little bit above, but it's not a strong resistance. It's merely just a guideline, I would say. When it's like that, that's very short. We are still in a downtrend, a lower low, lower highs. If it takes out 48.88, I think we will see another push towards 4,800. And there's really strong resistance up here at 5,000 on EUROSTOXX 50. So it is really under pressure, and the RSI sentiment is in negative state, has cancelled this divergence here, so we are in a negative sentiment and negative and bearish trend. Also, DAX got rejected at the 55 moving average and back below the cloud, didn't close above. It's a sign of weakness and negative sentiment. I think we could see a test of 17,875 here shortly if it can break below the 100 moving average. That's still giving some support. If it moves back above the 18,500, well, then I will consider it back in a bullish mode and bullish trend. AX is, of course, under pressure a little bit due to especially ASML that are also being sold off a bit, but not as much as other semiconductors from the semiconductor industry. 918 support, as you can see here, has dipped below a few times, and we have the lower rising trend lines here. That will also give some support, but it's not unlikely we could dip lower to around 900. There is massive divergence that's been on the way up here, but we are still, the uptrend is intact with the higher lows. So, but keep an eye on these levels there. CAC 40. Did bounce over the past week or so. Now more weakness are coming a little bit back, and we also still in a negative sentiment. There's no divergence on the RSI, which means we could see another push lower. If it drops back below 200 moving average, well, then we could see another push to test the 74.64 key support and this gap area. If it does close it with the closing price here, it actually dipped to touch the support, then it will move, most likely move lower to the upside. Well, it needs to take out the peak from yesterday, Monday, for a push towards 7,900, but it's not really in the cards, I would say. Swiss market tried to push higher yesterday. We have some resistance around these levels here, 12,170. We could also move it up to there, say 12,181. Support 11,955. That should be observed. A breakout of this range, I would say, will probably tell you the direction. There is divergence on the RSI, and we have this top and reversal like pattern in place. So my money is on, not that I'm invested, my money is on the downside. The FX market has been fairly muted over the past few days after euro dollar touched the 106.65, and that is the key level to break for euro dollar to push lower. I believe it will happen, but still we could see a little bit of a bounce towards 107, well, almost all the way up to 108. I don't think we'll get all the way up. We have some really strong resistance overhead here with the 55 moving average coming down, the 200 and the 100 moving average. The euro sterling still in a bouncing mode, but could be resuming downtrend. Let's move this one a little bit so we can better see. We had this doji yesterday, and if we get a negative day today, a bearish day today, then I think we'll have another push to test the 84 key support. On the cable, formed yesterday this bullish engulfing pattern here, which is fairly unusual to see, but again, it was over the weekend or after the weekend, so it does happen. So we could see a little bit of a bounce towards 127.5 possibly. If it takes out 127.5, I will actually say it just needs to take out 127.40. Then we could see another test at this 128.18 resistance area here. The RSI is still showing that we are in a positive sentiment, and let's just add a trend line here. So if it breaks above that trend line, I think we'll see a push higher on cable. If it takes out the lows from Friday at 126.20, well, then downtrend will resume and possibly lower. Yen pairs are pausing a little bit, dollar yen here pausing a little bit, but it is in an uptrend. Now there's divergence on the RSI, so a little bit stretched uptrend, to be honest. But we could see it pushing towards the 160, 80, 85 level is not unlikely in a short-term final push. On the longer term, you can see here we are actually at a very interesting level. If we look back, I mean, we have to go back all the way back to the 1980s, 1990 here to see these levels. So if it does break above, well, then we are looking at 175, but that's a little bit longer term. Looking at euro yen also pushing higher, is now above the 2007, 2008 peak. 2008 peak here at 169, just below 170, and there we have to go really far back to the 90s to see these levels in euro yen, and short term it does look like it is pushing higher. There is divergence on the RSI, but RSI has broken above its falling trend line, indicating we're likely to see higher levels on euro yen towards 172, 173 levels here in the coming week or so. Aussie yen also pushing higher towards 107, and also here if we're looking at the longer term view, we have to go back to 2007 for levels. 107.88 is the what a peak back then. I think we will test that in a few days. And finally, sterling yen. On the yen pairs, I have to go all the way back to 2007 here also, 2008, sorry, to see some really strong, I find some really strong resistance around 214. That's a bit far away, I know. I think 203, 205 short to medium term is the is what to look for. If it does move back below 200 and back below 198, well, then at that scenario could be busted. Aussie dollar still in this range bound between 67.15 and 65.80. So a bit boring there, but suddenly it will move and break out of it, I believe. Dollar Canada is still sliding lower towards the 200 moving average, towards the lower part of the cloud, and the strong support 135.90. Well, we have the 200 moving average coming up, also adding some support. RSI is still in positive sentiment, and I think we will see a bounce here the next couple of days. And then we'll probably have another go at the resistance at 137.85 level. Swiss bounced further yesterday, some resistance at 96, but strong resistance around 96.75. If it takes out the lows from last week, then we have another sell-off. Dollar Swiss also caught range bound here between 88.39-ish level around, but we had this bottom of reversal pattern, resistance around 90. If it does break above 90 and does closes above 90, I would say, then there's a fairly good chance that it will move higher towards 98 and above the cloud. Finally, on the dollar index, when we're talking FX, it actually formed a bearish engulfing here, as you can see yesterday, so giving a little bit of a pressure, and the RSI was also rejected at 60, so that's really interesting, despite closing above the 105.38 resistance here the other day. So I'll actually say, okay, let's forget about this one. Keep an eye on these levels. If it takes out 105.56, then I think we will look at 106.30, 106.50. If it starts moving back below the cloud and back below into the cloud, and below 55 moving average, well, then we're looking at these levels down here around 104. Gold still sideways between range bound between 23.88 and 22.85. Those are the levels I want to see it breaking out of. If it does close above or below, that's the right direction. There's massive divergence on the RSI, indicating the breakout will be to the downside, but I want confirmation. Also, we still have RSI, despite having the divergence, we're still in a positive sentiment. If it does close above 60, well, look for higher levels. If it does close below 40, well, look for lower levels. Silver, fairly quiet yesterday, still in a bearish trend. It needs to take out the peak from yesterday at 30.85 for further upside potential. The platinum failed to break the 1015 level. 1000 is merely just a psychological level, but 1015 will be a massive break if it does close above, and if RSI closes above 60. If it fails to do so, I think we will resume downtrend towards 950, 925. Copper, 443 seems to be really that area where we are trading at the moment, and that is also the support area. We are below the cloud, interestingly, but the RSI is still not below 40, so it's still holding on. Keep an eye on that. Downtrend is still intact with potential to 416, but we have also moving the 100 moving average coming up here, giving some support. So It could turn around, but I want to see it breaking above 470 before I go bullish on copper again. WTI oil maintaining the bullish trend, but it can't really get it back above the cloud. If it does, well, then we're looking at 83 resistance area and potentially higher, but you can see the moving average is still dragging it down a little bit. Same picture on Brent, of course, more or less at least, needs to break above the cloud, and despite having the RSI in a positive sentiment, with RSI above 60, the moving averages are not that. They are a little bit inconclusive, and most of them are declining. Finally, the Euros Treasury yield to 10-year 417 still key support. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and have a trading.